This program is made possible in part by the Lorenzo and Sybil Greasebaum Foundation and the Roscoe North Trust Fund and the Zazu Corn Pits Foundation, along with Chef George and Jose Swartz.
First time I became aware of Freddie the Crust artwork was when one of his drawings appeared next to one of my stories, the UNM Thunderbird literary magazine.
This artwork also appeared in that issue. I didn't know what it meant, but I liked it. What is that? But I like it. So I sought Mr. Crust out and gave him the story ahead of time to illustrate. And this story, look at the detail. Are we there yet, Captain? Not yet. Yeah, it says bloop. Wow, that's just incredible. Frightening, fraying the black satin edges of the quicksand. This was our last collaboration for the UNM Literary Magazine. And again, Fred nailed it. Next thing I got Fred to draw was Frank Zappa album. So I was hired by Michael Blake, hired as a music reviewer. Yeah, that Michael Blake, the guy who wrote Dances with Wolves back before he said he knew how to write. So Fred drew this illustration of Frank Zappa playing by ear. Get it? Playing by ear. Yeah. And I started the story out with how Freddie the Crust got his name. First off, he wanted to be called Fred Radar Durf, which is sort of a palindrome. Well, it is a palindrome. And after a while, he adopted the middle name of one of his favorite cartoon characters, Smokey the Bear. And so he was Fred the Durf. And then while he was vacationing, as he put it, in Vietnam, scraping the hulls of ships, he acquired a crust. And so that's how he became Freddie the Crust. So I started acquiring Freddie the Crust artwork. I even paid for the one above, and I probably paid a lot less than I should have. But I bought it nonetheless. It was called a toy shelf, I believe. And there's Plumb Bob that makes it go sideways, and what is this? It's Gates and nude harem dancer with a key, and there's a horse looking in a window, and what's that doing on a toy shelf? And there's a top. What is that? So it's like a mask, and it looks like a spaceship. The moon behind it. Well, controls. A horse looking through a door. The kitchen stove with the kitchen on fire, and a nude harem girl holding a key with is that a sultan inside? A tin top with a worm coming out of a brick. There's a step ladder in there and somebody's hanging wallpaper. Ooh, what do we got here? A soldier with a bubble over his head. Oh, there's another worm. There's a pull. Oh, it's a jack-in-the-box. Oh, there's a worm coming out of the jack-in-the-box guy's eye. Eee. And what's going on inside that box there? There's a salt shaker and a cup and a lamppost coming out of the floor, and the wall seems to be melting, and there's a guy coming out of the top, and more worms. What is that? I don't know, but I like it. And on the last shelf, it looks like we got more worms, toilet paper, sort of like an abused teddy bear. Look like his tooth is tied to the door of the jack-in-the-box. Oh, that's interesting. And a lizard and a worm. So that's the story of the toy shelf. Maybe Freddie the Crust's masterpiece. After that, I started collecting as many pieces of his artwork as I could. This next piece is for the program of my play Flying. See how the guy is shot past the bird? Somehow acquired all these other paintings. Look at them. Look how detailed they are. What is that? What is that there and that? And what is, but I like it. About this time I asked Fred why all his drawings were black and white. Why not in color? And he replied, I'm colorblind. Look at them. Look how detailed they are. What is that? What is that there and that? And became a cartoonist, one you could hire. I had him do the logo for our radio theater company. They put on plays at KUNM. He drew the posters for my first plays at the Vortex Theater. This may be the classic and maybe his greatest of all. This was my second play that I did at the Vortex based on the Collier brothers. This poster hung in the Vortex for 5 years. Fred asked me if he could act in one of my plays, and I told him, no, don't give up cartooning. Stay a cartoonist. You don't need to act. And I'm glad he didn't listen to me, because after that, Fred was in every one of my plays, especially when I found out he had originated this play, It Takes a Chef, where he played Zazu, a waitress who served two things in her restaurant, bologna sandwiches and water. Fred still has a bologna in a jar that he's kept since his first production. That's another story. For this play, McCormick and I had Fred be a Spanish conquistador's head in a box. And he sat in that box a good half hour before he said his first line. And he was just a head in a box. And he did the poster.
He even did the artwork for our little repertory company. And as Tanner put it, there's only one F in Jeff. We didn't want to be too pretentious. And he was there that night that I killed comedy. Matter of fact, he and Tanner and Chuck raced in to the comedy club during the end of my set as clowns. They were the CLO, the Clown Liberation Organization. And Fred went full female circus clown. He shaved his chest. He wore a dress with a huge bustle, and he carried a giant slapstick, just like punched it to hit up on people and make that slapping sound. But that's another story.
This was our logo for the play The Child Who Loves to Suffer. Fred not only did the artwork, he also starred in it. In this play, a poor guy sends $25 away to the poor and starving in Africa, and there's a foul up it, and they mail in the kid, and he has to deal with it. McCormick, who helped write this, tried to sue South Park for the same idea, but that's another story. And this is where my treasure trove of Freddie the Crust artwork runs out. I don't know why. There's just no more. Became Fred's artwork was fun. He earned and he will keep his place in our cartoon hearts with cartoonish charm. Fred's work was fun, and he earned and will keep his place in our cartoon hearts with his cartoonish charm. So what's to say is, Fred, thanks. Thanks for your art. Thanks for your interpretation of my surreal ideas. You made the world a wackier place. What's that? I don't know, but I like it.